well known to belong to kuffar, to non-Muslims. But if the kuffar made some kind of clothes and Muslims using it, it's not only for them, it's allowed for you to use it. The Prophet ﷺ, when he wears his shoes, he will start with the right side. When he will take off his shoes, he will start with the left side. Some scholars said it's also recommended to do the same when you put your clothes on. So for example, if you want to put your pants, you start with the right. Take off your pants, start with the left. Brothers and sisters, put your shirt, start with the right, take off the left first. Also the Prophet ﷺ, when he brushes his hair, he has a brusher ﷺ to brush his hair with it. And he starts with the right side before the left side. Even when he shaves his head, he will start with the right before the left, and he will say Bismillah. The Prophet ﷺ had mirror. He used to look at it to see himself how he looked like sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he looks like sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet ﷺ had also a container had perfume, and it was black. The perfume was black, and it's very good smell. And the Prophet ﷺ would never rejected a perfume if it's given to him by anybody as a gift, or somebody want to put perfume in his hand. And he will put the perfume in his palm, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not in the back of his hand, inside his hand, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his palm. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to make kuhul every night, as been reported by several of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, compared like Ibn Abbas. And he used to put kuhul in his eyes every night. And this kuhul was made of al-ithmid. Al-ithmid, a special kind of kuhul. The Prophet ﷺ said it will help your sight to be increased, and it will help your hair to grow more. This ithmid. إنه يجلي البصر وينبت الشعر يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم he had horses, several horses like Al-Adham, Al-Sak, Al-Murtajaz, black horses, brownish horses, white mixed with brown. He had 7 horses sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is the scholar agree upon, and some said 15. He had also mule, even though the mule were not so popular in Arab land, because they don't Arab, they don't like the idea of mule, and they talk about it. They think it's not a good idea. You know what mule is? Mixed between horse and donkey. Mule cannot be married, basically. So when you have a mule, it's dead. So it's cannot be increased. So therefore they don't have mule. Either horses or donkey, because they are increased, the number of them increasing. But the mule, they don't have mule. So the Prophet ﷺ had a mule. It had been given to him as a gift from the king of Egypt. And he called this mule Duldul. Duldul. So you can call your car, it's not expensive one, Duldul. Okay. And the Prophet ﷺ also had donkeys, and one of them, Ufayr. So I don't know who's going to call Ufayr. Maybe you call yours Ufayr, and maybe your wife's car Duldul. I don't know how you're going to make that. Anyway, and the Prophet ﷺ also had camels. And one of the famous camels is Al-Qaswa, the one he rides ﷺ when he moved from Mecca to Al-Madinah. He purchased it from Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Before he died, he had 100 sheep, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and 7 goats. And he never had more than 100 sheep, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Whenever the number increased, he will order them to pass the meat of these sheep to the poor people. He had servants. He had slaves, male and female. He had servants such Anas ibn Malik and Zayd ibn Haritha. And also the Prophet had a barber. He used to cut his hair, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his hair. The Prophet ﷺ made hijama, cupping, which is to take out the blood, which is the bad blood from the body. He had hijama, cupping, in 3 places 3 times. Once in his head, in the middle of his head, and once between his shoulder from the back, and once in his feet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the upper part of his feet. احتجم 3 مرات على ظهور قدميه وبين كتفيه وعند رأسه صلى الله عليه وسلم. وقد كوى ولم يكتوي ورقى ولم يسترقي، يعني لم يطلب الرقية. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم also used to make ruqyah, to read on people if they are sick, but never ask somebody to read on him to cure him or to give him ruqyah. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم used to ride his horse or whatever, his rider. He used to ride his rider صلى الله عليه وسلم, whereas there is saddle on it, or sometimes not. To ride by himself, and he allowed somebody to ride with him, in front of him or next to him. One of the stories that it mentioned in the seerah, that the Prophet ﷺ was with Abu Hurairah, and Abu Hurairah asked him to ride with him in his donkey. Then the Abu Hurairah jumped on the donkey to be next to the Prophet ﷺ, but he couldn't settle. Then he was almost falling down. He held the Prophet ﷺ, and both of them fell down. Then the Prophet ﷺ ride. Then after a while, the Prophet asked Abu Hurairah, "You want to ride with me again?" He said, "Yes, Ya Rasulullah." Then he jumped, but it's a very small place. Then he almost to saddle, but he held the Prophet, and both fell down again. Then the Prophet ﷺ ride his rider. Then after a while he said, "Do you want to ride with me again?" 3rd time. He said, "Wallahi ya Rasulullah, ma kuntu li usqituka ba'daha abada." He said, "No, Ya Rasulullah, I will never do it, because I'm afraid that you'll fall down again. I will never do that to you." He was so simple, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet ﷺ, some scholars account how many of his companions he allowed them to ride with him in the same rider. It's more than 40 of his companions. They ride with the Prophet ﷺ in the same rider. Sometimes his companion will be ride and he will walk. Such as Mu'adh ibn Jabal, when he sent him to Yemen. He let him, as narrated by Al-Bukhari, ride in his horse or his rider, whatever comes, or horse. And the Prophet ﷺ was holding his horse. He said, "Ya Rasulullah, it's not gonna happen. You walking, I'm riding." He said, "No, stay." He sent him as Amir, and he want to show respect, that people respect him. Anyway, the Prophet ﷺ walked with him long time. مشى معه طويلة يقول ابن عباس. Then he said to Mu'adh, "I might not be able to see you again." When he said that, he cried sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also Mu'adh radiallahu anhu cried when he heard that from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. This question, let me answer it first, since we're talking about the kuhl. Kuhl, it is an ithmid, it's some kind of kuhl. Something that people put it in their eyes and give like outside of the eyes, and it give a color for the eyes. It give like a color for the eyelashes or around the eyes, or they put it even inside like the eyes, and it's good for, it's very healthy, the ithmid, as the Prophet ﷺ said. The Prophet ﷺ used to eat different kind of food. He used to eat sweets,